Hello, darlings. Hi, kids. Maria West here. Love, truth, and beauty. Let's make this episode 276. And this is my new video series, Conversations with Men, number 4. And I have with me my good friend, the amazing Friar Pesel.
Hello.
He is wondering about the title of my video series and why I would invite him. And how are you, Friar? What's
I am
happening?
super duper. Well, it's another soupy evening here on the East Coast.
Ah,
I live in the humidity generator of the Mid-Atlantic region.
yes. Yes, I know that region very well. And the mosquitoes really, really love me over there.
Yes, they're very affectionate.
Yes, they're wondering when I'm going to come back.
They want some more of that love, truth, and beauty.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'm getting pretty well eaten up over here because we're in our monsoon season and it just fucking rains like
Oh,
crazy. And so everything is drenched. I have all these plants shooting up out of the dry desert dirt going, "Hi, did you know that you have these? Do you know
right.
that we're part of your family?" It's great. I love it.
Yes, I hope you like flash floods.
Yes, it flash floods here quite a lot. In fact, the last rainstorm, I was wondering whether my front hallway was going to get flooded.
Oof, gnarly.
But anyways, it's like it's life in the high desert mountains during monsoon season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. All right,
All right,
Friar. Let's just go there. Let's go
let's do
there.
it.
Just about we talked a little bit the definition of men. What's
Oof.
your take?
What's my take? Well, first of all, it would probably be a good idea to lay a little groundwork
Okay, cool.
for me, for your listeners, for your
Yes.
viewers. I'm part of the Western mystery tradition, which either means that people will know what I'm talking about, or they think that I worship the devil in my spare time, which I do not.
No, he does
Uh,
not.
I, I assure you, I do not. Um, and I did it because I really was kind of desperate to learn about myself. And in some ways you have to be desperate to go into territory that you were specifically forbidden to go into, because I was
Yes.
raised in the wonderful Bible thumping tradition of Southern Baptism, and it was, I went screaming into the no-go zone largely because nothing else had worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like my life. And I thought, well, no stone unturned, huh? Let's do this. But we something that you and I share in common, besides the fact that we, both are acquainted with Freeman Fly,
Yes.
is we have NSP parentage.
Yes, we do. Holy moly.
Yes, we do. And the damage that's done to us. I was trying to figure it all out, right? My life just kept, it's like a bad, those bad dreams where you like pick something up and it just falls apart in your hands. You're like, no, I need this to
Yes.
work. It's like my whole life was that way. And I just couldn't understand it. Um, and so I've studied, Western mystery stuff and psychology and just really anything I get my hands on to figure out, what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the first obvious thing is, when you have an incredibly damaged parent,
Yeah.
they they take all of their terrible parts of themselves, and they can't stand to contain it, so they lay it on you.
Yes, they do.
So
Now,
that's like,
now, who was the bad parent for you, or were they both bad?
my mother is a saint.
Really?
Yeah, well, no, she's pretty good, honestly.
Awesome.
She comes from an NSP family, so it's not perfect, but as far as like being a genuinely loving person, I mean, if there ever was a person in this world who understood actual literal unconditional love, it's my mom. Like, she will love you like a
Aw,
puppy, no matter what, like, for real.
that's awesome.
She's got her problems,
Yeah.
as we all do, but really, like, I got kind of lucky on that one. But the counterbalance, of course, is dad.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, do you have siblings?
I have one.
Okay.
He's enough. Uh, he's um, it's funny because he seems to be like on the verge of kind of waking up to this, and then he steps back. He can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I think we all know where that line is. But he really he it's funny because he turned me on to some of the psychology stuff, uh, having to do with NSPs and codependence, really.
Really?
Oh yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I think you're a classic codependent. I'm like, what does that even mean? So uh
Now,
I
is he older or younger?
younger. He's
Okay.
younger, but
Okay.
he's an alcoholic.
Okay.
So, and he had, he has a tendency to well, he takes after my dad. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's a little difficult. But basically what he did, and he told me this later, he's like, yeah, I told you about all this stuff so that you would look it all up and figure it all out and then explain it to me.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh,
And I'm
gee,
like,
no pressure there.
yeah, not only no pressure, but I can't do the great work for you.
No. Although people seem to think, and I've heard people talk about, family of origin things, and I know energetically that it takes one conscious person in any tribal lineage to make the changes, but you can't make the people step up to it.
No. And don't get me wrong. I want to say this right up front.
Yeah.
I am not perfect either. Like,
Nor I.
There's no question. I mean, if your role model, and this is getting closer to the subject of this series for you, my male role model is an NSP, and a really bad one.
Yeah.
And so for me, what that meant was, besides torment growing up,
Ugh.
it also meant, and I think we all have these moments where you're like, I'm never going to be like you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, just burn, and that just burns in you. You're like, I am never going to be like you.
Yeah.
And you know what? In Jungian psychology, that's just like picture perfect, chucking it all in the shadow, all of it. And that, and so I would say to you, I would submit to you that I took pretty much all of masculinity, because I didn't know what I was doing. This wasn't really conscious. I didn't think to myself, I am now taking that which I disavow and placing it into my shadow. I just did it.
Yes.
Like anything that's like my dad, and it goes.
Wow.
And my dad was a rager. My dad was a cheater. My dad was I would say that, and of course I cannot diagnose anyone, because I'm not a professional.
Right.
But I do have a DSM sitting on my desk, and the and the DSM says that he would qualify as like antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah.
Easily. And that's tough. And those otherwise known as sociopaths.
Yeah. So would you say that he stunted at a certain age?
Oh, for sure. And I can give you what I think.
What age do you think he stunted at?
Shit, man. He's
or does he go in and out of various ages?
I don't think he made it past like 9 or 10.
Wow, that's
I'm not kidding.
Really fucked up.
But he had a monster of a father, and we have to acknowledge that.
Okay.
Hurt people.
Yes.
And his father. I mean, the majority of my family refers to my grandfather as a monster, and for good reason. He was a terrible, terrible man, super abusive, awful. And my dad was a preemie. Okay, he's much smaller than an average, male. He's much shorter. He's very slight of build. And I have no doubt that he was probably, conscientious of this growing up. And his dad was just an absolute monster. I think my dad probably had a learning disability or two. He never
Okay.
made it past, I think, like the 5th grade.
Okay. So that probably adds to his
Right.
feelings of, wanting to puff himself up and be a
Right.
bully.
Right. Exactly. And it's a classic thing. Like, I am not acceptable to my parent as I am. Therefore, I will construct this false self that is acceptable. And
Mm,
you do that at a young age, and it stops your development
yeah.
right then and there. You're done. Unless you can, unless you're lucky and you can self-reflect later and go, I'm kind of full of shit about everything. And I feel weird and my life doesn't work.
Oh, wow. So
But
he
no,
could
he
not
didn't.
ever connect to that. Or if he did, that would be a trigger for him to act out and be really fucked up.
Right. Because his core wound is shame.
Okay.
Like, let's be clear.
Yeah.
When I was like growing up, we were poor as hell. And we were so poor, I didn't even know it. Right. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody,
Yeah,
but
it totally makes sense.
we just, I just thought this is how it was. And if I wore clothing, because back in the day, it was cool to have ripped jeans, right?
Yeah.
Cool. No. So that activated a shame wound in my father.
Oh boy.
Because he had tattered clothes back when tattered clothes were not cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually ripped my jeans off of my body, like not like yanked them down around my ankles, like Incredible Hulk, like
Mm-hmm.
grabbed them and ripped them open off of my body and said, "You cannot wear damaged clothing." Like, super shame wound.
Ooh,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's scary.
Yep. And so, this is my dad, and I kind of think he had, like I said, a learning disability, ADHD, something. He just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
clicking.
Yeah.
He's not a stupid person,
Yeah.
but his brain just didn't quite work. He's got a lot of the early childhood markers of ADHD, like being a preemie,
Mm-hmm.
growing up poor, all kinds of stuff. So I think that he was trying to work with that, couldn't make it through school, dropped out in 5th grade, ended up going to Vietnam in like 1964, 1965,
Oh, wow.
when he was 17.
Wow.
Okay.
What did he enlist in?
He is in
What
the
branch?
what it was 173rd Airborne Ranger Brigade of the Army, and he did all kinds of stuff. He was a
Oh.
ranger,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing like long range reconnaissance type stuff. And I think at one time he admitted, my job was to demoralize the enemy by any means possible. This is a 17-year-old kid.
At 17.
17.
Wow.
So did he get a chance to like heal up or, take a step back from his life? No, not at all.
Wow.
So, he goes straight from that to like meeting my mom. He had kids early.
How
Um,
old was he when he had you? I'm curious.
God, he early 20s,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
early 20s, and just couldn't handle it. The first time he left us, I was 3.5. He came back. Mom had her second kid. He left again. He came back again. Um, so all this, and this really is just about my dad's difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that it was just hammer blows like
Yeah.
all through his life.
Yeah.
And so then there's me, right? And I came out as a kid. I was always like oversensitive, super attuned, if you will, but wrong dad, for that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
um yeah, and he's very scrutinizing, very controlling.
Mm-hmm.
um
How was he with your mom?
um
Like what was their dynamic like?
well, she was long suffering, let's just say. I'm like,
Okay. Aw.
when I think about all the crap that he laid at her feet, I'm just amazed that she stayed at all.
Mm-hmm.
But she did. And I think about what could have been, but frequently, if he had, if he'd left and stayed away, and she had a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming she had a pattern, like because her father was a narcissistic alcoholic, and her brother was too.
Yeah. So she was pretty primed
Pretty
for,
primed.
yeah.
So she might have even brought in a dude who was worse because I wasn't the biological kid. Right. So it could have, it could have been pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And I say this to soften it because like my dad is gnarly. Like it's incredible. It's so bad. It's so bad. I feel guilty for saying how bad it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's good though. I think it's good. I mean, I've been reading a lot about the importance of verbal venting, whether it's to yourself or to, a close friend, beloved, or to a therapist, a coach, or whatever. I think it is so crucial to really get down to the brass tacks and not just name it, but just really get down with all of the feelings. And while you're venting it, really feel it. And then really give yourself permission to feel the anger and the rage and the injustice about it, because those are the really kind of toxic emotions that when we don't allow ourselves to go there, they become an entity in and of itself.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, it gets ready to erupt.
And they certainly can feed other entities that are,
Yes.
that just can't wait for some yummy energy.
Oh yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Part of the Western mystery tradition certainly recognizes that. So yeah, I've realized that I took all this stuff about my dad, that I'm not going to be you, I'm never going to be like you, and I threw it in my shadow and just was like, I disavow all of this.
Yeah.
This is not me. This is not me. And so I think there are at least two consequences of this. One is that, I won't say timid, that's the wrong word, but I'm overly gentle, because I hate conflict. I'm an Enneagram 9.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Want peace. I just want peace.
Yeah.
I just want quiet. I just want chill. Please chill. There's nothing worth getting this damn worked up about. But of course, that's my perspective.
And that's a good thing, because my experience of you're very soft-spoken. You have a gentle way about you.
Well, thank you. It's one of those talents that you get the wrong way. Right.
Yes, I understand.
I'll tell you a story. I was staying with my aunt and uncle in Western North Carolina at their literal mansion, and I was staying down in the downstairs suite. They had inherited a lot of money after they had a bunch of farmland that got sold for development, and they just got wacky doodle amounts of money. So they went like full on Beverly Hillbillies and got a big house on the lake. And I mean, it's nice. But I was downstairs, and my uncle was downstairs, and he was doing his Bible study like you do. And I think I'd made my way to the downstairs kitchen. And I was walking down the hall, and I startled him. And he just like, whoa. And I'm like, oh shit, my uncle's got a heart condition. I can't do that. And I said, sorry, look, I'm just, I'm naturally quiet. And he said, you're not quiet. You're silent. And that stuck in my head, because that's an extreme thing to say, but
yeah.
So, and I realized, oh yeah, because when I was growing up, silence was safety.
That's so absolutely freaking true. It was true for me. It's like silence and stillness, just like a statue. Maybe if I just don't breathe, she won't even notice I'm here.
Exactly. And then I won't get scrutinized, and then the bad things won't happen.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah. And like I say, these are the skills that we acquire the wrong way, but we have them all the same. I'm very soft-spoken. I'm patient. I listen a lot. But where does that come from? Silence with safety.
Yes.
I want peace.
Yeah.
I, the less I say, the better.
Yeah.
Right. So are those skills? Absolutely. Now, are those typically associated with, you know, big gym rat masculinity? No. But does
Well,
that mean
typically, you're right. No, in an
no?
outward fashion, but
No.
active stillness is also a great quality of the masculine. That active stillness of, like still like a mountain.
Yeah, like a strong kind of stillness.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm and I think you're being really kind to put it that way. I'm not entirely sure that mine was born from strength. It was more like freeze.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
do
Okay.
not
So
move.
do you relate to that? It's just in terms of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
bit.
All that bit. I have read Pete Walker's book. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's a
called
wonderful book.
yes, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. The
Yes.
big blue mural on the front. I am more of a obviously freeze
Mm-hmm.
and flight
Okay.
because I also know when it's time to get the hell out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my deal. Also, as far as attachment styles,
Mm-hmm.
they used to call it disorganized, and
Mm-hmm.
now they call it fearful because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't need to be ashamed enough that it was called disorganized. Now I have to be fearful.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. And the fearful attachment. So this is I break it down like real simple. Like
Mm-hmm.
people with healthy attachment, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
People with um anxious attachment is I'm not okay, but you're okay. So
Mm-hmm.
you tend to chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then dismissive avoidant is I'm okay, you're not okay.
That's me.
Yeah. Um and you're an Enneagram 8, the challenger.
Yes.
Yes. So
And I'm
I know
5 feet tall and weigh like what, 80 something pounds.
yes, and you would probably crush my throat in half a second if I made the wrong move.
No.
I know you. I do. Then you come to me, which is the fearful avoidant, the
Mm-hmm.
disorganized, which is I'm not okay and you're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and you would think, okay, well, that's easy enough. You just leave everybody alone. But the truth is, you still actually do want connection. It's
Yes.
just that you just think there's these horrible consequences behind it.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I really don't want to be alone. And I like people kind of, but I've been just creamed by so many, in particular, the main parental one. So
Yes.
um, it's crazy. And also, because my dad was so difficult,
Mm-hmm.
I did get parentified, right, by my mom.
You did what?
I got parentified.
What does that mean
Okay,
exactly? I mean, I know what it means, but I want to hear your definition of it.
here's what it means. Here's what it means, at least in my case. It means that because my dad was so inadequate as a partner,
Mm-hmm.
that my mother would come to me in a way that she wanted me to fulfill parts of his role, like
Okay. Yeah. Got
like
it.
spending time with her,
Got it.
a lot of
Yeah.
sort
You
of
took you took care of her.
yes. And but it comes with other stuff. Some people
Yes.
are truly unfortunate in that the parentification leads to bad touches and that sort of thing. But
Right.
in my case, it was really just her venting to me as though I were a peer.
Yes.
And so I know much more about my father's bad behaviors than perhaps I should.
Yeah.
Although on the other hand, it did give me a lot of information with which to make a clear judgment about like who he really is as a person, and therefore what I was
Oh,
reacting to. Because
interesting. Now, would she like when your dad was attacking you, would
yeah,
she defend you?
nope,
Would she come to your rescue?
not at all.
Okay, so she was just kind of checked out.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
So she
I think
wouldn't intervene.
No, but I think that was kind of, like a freeze response.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's so confusing to me because at the same time she's freezing because of his behavior and not coming to her own child's rescue, and then you're gonna be in her therapist.
yes, very much so. In fact, again, a skill earned the wrong way,
Yeah.
because I'm told over and over again, you have a soothing voice, you're very avuncular, you're like my favorite uncle, I can talk to you. Like, yeah, well, I mean, and pay attention to me, what I say. Yes, because I that's like the upside of hypervigilance.
Yes.
I gotta watch, like, is dad pissed off? Is he kind of twitchy today? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Did
is
he
he?
have like any prodromal tell? Like I could tell when my mother was gonna go off. There would all of a sudden be a metallic taste in the air.
Ooh,
And I knew
whoa.
shit was going down any moment.
My dad would get quiet,
Okay.
which my
It's
dad's,
similar.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't that same, like, electric, clearly, electric thing that you experience. And God, I wonder. Of course, I'm interested in spirituality, but I also ask myself, is that some kind of crazy, like, cortisol precursor that you were tasting in your mouth? Like,
I wonder,
you know?
maybe it was some kind of like protective mechanism that got activated for me
Yeah.
to, it's like, look for cover, girl, hide,
Right.
you know.
Right. No, it's a good question, and I actually haven't ever thought about it, but usually my dad would just get quiet and he
Okay.
would, get really rigid. It was like, okay, time to go. Like, don't stick around. This isn't going to go
Wow.
well.
Yeah.
But my dad was also prone to, like, genuine, not just, I mean, I'm sure he has CPTSD, but like actual, movie style PTSD. Where
Meaning,
so like, actually, here's a great story.
oh,
we
I
were at
want to
we were
hear
at
this.
we were at Busch Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
which is a theme park in Virginia. For those who don't know, it's, relatively close by. It's within driving range, so we'd go there from time to time. And we were there, and these dudes who looked like, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, Asian males.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Understand, my father was in Vietnam, so here they are, and they broke in line for, like, the log flume ride. This is now again, my dad's got serious sociopathic shit, and they have their, like, private rules, right? Sociopaths are like, these are the rules, and if you break
Yes.
them, I am now allowed to do anything.
Exactly. It's their justification for their shit,
Right.
terrifying behavior.
Exactly. And so these guys broke the rules, but then he went, like, full on, um Good Morning Vietnam, and was like, I can smell them.
Holy fuck.
I'm like, what? You can smell what? And he's like, they're Viet Cong. I can
Oh
smell it.
no.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna watch my dad kill some people, because I've seen my dad, like, pull a gun on people. I've seen my dad beat people up in the gas line.
Oh my God.
So I thought, oh, what's coming now? So I think they had enjoyed the delicacies of the jewel of Southeast Asia, and probably, maybe it smelled like fish sauce or something that's
Mm-hmm.
common to the region, and he's flipping
Oh
out.
shit.
So, my dad was terrifying on a number of levels.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all of these things, were things that I was like, nope, not doing that as an adult, not ever doing that one,
Yeah.
not going to be aggressive like that, not going to do this, not going to do that, not going to be like him. So I think we'd said earlier, off the air, talking about my difficulties with identifying as a male,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Is just like my dad being, and oh God, he was the worst flirt. He flirted with everything that didn't have a winky
Oh
between its
my God.
legs.
Would he do this shit in front of you and your mom and your brother?
Of course.
Oh, wow. So he was a disrespectful jerk as well,
Yes.
and
Yes.
entitled to doing that. Like, I'm a man, I can do that kind of shit.
Oh yeah. And it was just like normal. And
Ugh,
so yeah,
terrible.
so I disavowed all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another piece of that. If you put all that stuff in your shadow, you
Yeah,
will get triggered
no
to the
shit.
banana boats if you see someone else doing that stuff.
Yes.
If someone's doing stuff like your shadowy parent did,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah. I have that same response to women and men hitting their children out in public or yelling at
Ooh,
them, calling them
yeah,
names. Oh my God. I will fucking come unglued to the point of putting my own life in peril.
I believe it.
Like, not even thinking, are these gangbangers? Maybe you shouldn't go up to them. Like,
Right.
maybe they have
Don't.
sidearms and knives and shit and
And you
friends.
don't care. Yeah.
Like, no, you don't. It doesn't even occur to me. But I mean, it occurs to me now because I've been in like some scary, sketchy situations because I've come unglued at a most inopportune moment.
Yeah. And I get it. I get it, get it.
Yeah.
Because that's like, that's touching that primal stuff,
Yes.
you
Oh
know?
yeah. That helplessness, I can't take it. I can't take it. I'm
Yeah. And
there to protect the innocent. Um, wow.
yeah. So that's because I wasn't especially, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was disavowing, all these traits
Mm-hmm.
at the time. Of course not. You know, I didn't have anyone tap me on the shoulder and go, "Oh, by the way, you're throwing all this in your shadow,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to
Yeah.
have to deal with it later."
Yeah.
No, no. So I I one of the consequences of it is that I vastly prefer the company of women,
Yeah.
like far and away. I don't have that many male friends because if I see any of these characteristics, even like small grains of these behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, ooh, you're shadowy. You're like my dad. You
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
See ya. We're not
Yeah.
friends.
No, I can relate that. In fact, that's interesting because I know with my mom, because my dad wasn't around ever. My mom, so that kind of toxic femininity, toxic masculinity within her, I
Right.
attracted that over and over and over and over and over again
Oh
in
yeah.
my girlfriends, my women friends. Like I've subjected myself to a lot of raging, lying, abusive bitches for women friends and girlfriends when I was in school, when I was young, and I couldn't see it.
Yeah. No, it's actually really remarkable how much you don't see when you're
I
going
know, right?
through it. And really though, I think that makes the hard, the later stages, like what I've been going through for the last, easily 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it just atrocious because if you, I mean, to put it in a very simple nutshell, the work that I've done has mainly been about calming myself down, like getting
Mm-hmm.
rid of my reactivity, making sure that my vagal nervous system doesn't flip out. A lot of meditation, a lot of healing, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
nervous system rebuilding, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the part they don't tell you, right? Eckhart Tolle doesn't talk about this.
No.
Is that when you do that, you get clarity
Yeah.
on your past
Yes.
and the shit that you did wrong.
Yeah.
And then it's like a shame cascade. You're
Yeah.
like, oh no, I thought I was the good guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turns out I was like, these people who say, oh yeah, all my ex-girlfriends were crazy. I'm like, yeah, I can tell you didn't do the work.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can tell.
it's easy to say that
Yeah.
because then you can just kind of excuse yourself that
Yeah.
they made you do it.
Right. But it's like, okay, buddy, but that tells me a lot right away. Is first of all, you're attracted to crazy,
Yeah.
and second of all, it's because you bonded with crazy somewhere,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, full confessions, my dating history isn't particularly great. It's uneven, but
Ah, okay. Interesting.
yeah, I've okay, fair cop. I've dated some actually really nice people, women, and they were great. I've dated some that were absolute, not great, right? Fairly extreme examples of not great. You would say kind of in the BPD or histrionic area.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and part of that was because there were many points along the way where my mother lost her shit
Yeah,
because my
I
dad
bet.
was like gaslighting her to
Yeah.
the Jesus.
I bet he goaded her too,
Yeah. And so that's
tortured
like,
her.
right, reactive abuse where like,
Oh man.
and of course it always ended up the same way. Oh my God, I can't believe you're so upset about this. You need to, you need to do something about your
Oh
craziness.
wow.
Right. So my mom always was on the hook. Like my
Oh.
dad would drive her. I mean, and my dad did. It's not like, oh, marginally bad. No. My dad did horrible things. My dad did crimes. My
Oh.
dad, my dad was a cheater. My dad did bad things. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
when she finally lost it, it was her fault, according to him.
Aw.
Oh, but what
Yeah.
does that do to the sensitive kid who's watching everything? It's like my loving mother who loves me unconditionally also can be unhinged at times.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, she'd just reach her fucking
Of
saturation and she'd
absolutely,
have to like fucking vent that or it's got to outgas
of
somehow.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming her. Like this is not to say like, oh, my mom is a bad person. It's just that you model, what you see. And
Yeah.
so I did find a number of girlfriends who had the high levels of reactivity, and to me that was normal.
Yep.
And I was in this also, and it's kind of horrible. I tended to be kind of a fixer, like, oh, I can, I will love that out of you. I
Okay,
will.
that would be me.
It doesn't ever end well.
No, it doesn't.
No, but yeah, I was, I liked the kind of shiny, interesting, broken dollies. And that was part of me trying to come up with some type of self-worth, right? I'm not worth something because my dad being so bananas, he was he was a heavy scrutinizer, right? Anything I did, I was doing it wrong,
Wow.
and I
So
better do it his way. Oh
correcting
yeah,
you, criticizing.
correcting, criticizing, micromanaging, even shit he didn't know anything about.
Oh, that's
He would
great.
just he would just make up expertise on the spot.
Wow.
So it's part of the reason I turned to music was because he genuinely doesn't know shit about music and he can't make it up, right? You can't just fake music.
Yeah. Well, although I have actually met women who like just in terms of women friends over the years who
Mm-hmm.
have tried to compete with me and claim that they are, say, expert piano players or whatever,
Ooh.
to the point where I had this one former friend who just made up all this shit. And
Wow.
when the truth came out, I mean, she literally moved out of town and out of state overnight because she just couldn't face the reality that she'd outed herself.
Wow. So like super shame reaction,
Yes.
like massive primary
Yeah,
wounding.
exactly. And she, she
Wow.
just went up against the wrong person, somebody like me,
Right.
who's actually had a performance career in music. So it's just, it was weird. It was so weird. Like all my other friends were like going, "You didn't see that?" And I go, "No." I mean, why would I not believe her?
Sure. I mean, because that's a lot. You wouldn't think someone's like gonna lie
Yeah.
about being a musician.
Yeah.
Because you can lie all you want, but someone like sit your ass down on that hard bench, like, okay, the ivories are here, baby.
I know. Here they are.
Here we
Let's
go.
go.
So yeah, that's crazy.
I know, really, but that's just an example of how far people will go to really cover their pain.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's a defense. I mean, it's
Mhm.
you're striking them. Like my dad's shame core is like massive because he was a poor kid and he was just, picked on in school, and he'd go home and his
Mhm.
dad would beat the hell out of him, and like
Wow.
he couldn't win for losing. So shame like is his major like narcissistic injury. And anything that activated that. And I think this is why it's these people live in a delusion. It's like
Mhm.
their whole existence is a weird lie. It's a delusion. It was a necessary defense. They lie to themselves, they lie to other people.
Yeah.
They're really great and they know everything. And they don't.
Yeah.
But they cannot handle the shame
Yeah.
of being lesser
Yeah.
in any
Now, did
way.
your dad have friends that came around? What were
Some
what were
few,
they like?
like salesmen,
Okay. Were they like his
gamblers.
henchmen, his flying monkeys?
No, fortunately, that wasn't a thing because my dad always had to be the king. So like
Okay. Okay.
he, yeah, he did not delegate his evil behaviors to lackeys,
Okay. All
especially
right.
because they'd probably do it wrong.
Oh, okay. Of course.
You're carrying out my evil orders incorrectly. Um, so yeah, no, I fortunately that wasn't the case, but
Mhm.
it's just a collection of like ne'er-do-wells and weird,
Yeah.
like I met people with zip guns and loan sharks and all kinds of just
What?
gnarly. Oh yeah, my dad like
Oh man.
yeah, like the like back alley criminals.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I know those people backwards and forwards, and not because I wanted to, because those were my dad's associates,
Oh my
right?
God.
Yeah, it just it's just incredible.
Wow.
So yeah, you're starting to get a picture of like
Yes,
how.
like I understand why you would just be no thank you.
Yeah, I just
No, 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 thank you.
if this is what being a man is,
Yeah.
I don't want this.
Yeah, fuck
And that
this.
and it's not to say that I decided I was a girl or I anything like that. It was just like
Yeah.
these behaviors and these social hallmarks and these cultural ways of doing things. I have no interest in this.
Mhm.
So, I read a lot. I was reading the newspaper at age 5. I was playing
Awesome.
chess as a 6-year-old. I
Oh
was
my
doing,
God.
a lot of things that were solitary or maybe like one-on-one stuff was
Mhm.
was cool. So I did a lot of drawing. I practiced a lot of guitar. When I started getting to the Western mystery stuff, that was perfect because it's like, oh
Yeah.
man,
So when did that happen? And what was the what was going on in your life where that clicked?
like the catalyst.
Mhm.
So my last like major relationship just like exploded. It was like the Challenger, just boom. It was, and I had invested. I'd started to kind of become self-aware about like my shortcomings. It was just the beginning of that. It was about 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and things were not going well in my life, and I decided, what I can do though, I can be the best boyfriend ever,
Aw.
right? But well, I mean,
Yeah.
and it sounds neato,
It
but
does.
but I picked a dismissive avoidant
Oh,
to do
shit.
this
I'm
with.
so sorry.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I just, again, I got all the psychology in the lexicon like much later. But yeah, I was like, I'm going to be the best boyfriend ever, and I'm going to do all the things that my dad doesn't do, and I'm going to, because I fucked up all my other relationships, but this one's going to work, and I'm going to do it with this girl I really like. And no, I not only did I pick the wrong person to try that with, but just nobody. I was literally hanging the balance of the success of my whole life on her.
Oh, holy moly.
Yeah, and I picked a dismissive avoidant to do it with.
That was not
So
going to be a win-win.
no, but I was like, no, I'm going to get this right. Like, I'm really going to, this one, I've got to do this. This is the thing that's going to turn my life around.
But
And
the intent, however, is actually quite noble.
well, I appreciate that. So thank you. I just didn't realize, I just didn't know what I was doing. Like, once again, just didn't know there were attachment styles,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
And what, the more she ran, the more I chased.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we can fix this, because I was trying to do all those things my dad didn't do. Like, my dad didn't fix shit. My dad didn't like try to reconcile. My dad didn't work on the relationship. My dad didn't do any of that stuff. So once again, here I am, like, swinging to the other side
Mm-hmm.
and going, I'm going to do all the things that my father
Yeah.
doesn't do.
Yeah.
And I picked the wrongest
Yeah.
possible so that failed. And that was the point at which I just went, okay, that was supposed to be, that was my Hail Mary. That was like the saving grace. And it broke, and it did absolutely horrible. And I that was it. I was like, well, nothing in my life works. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great place to be.
No, it isn't. I know this place.
But this is about the time my brother said, hey, you're a codependent. Why don't you figure all that stuff out and tell me about it. Like,
how the fuck did he know that?
He dated a horrible girl.
so he's in and out of doing the great work.
I'd say out mostly. Okay. Like he would get drunk and listen to Alan Watts. Like, that's not quite.
Yeah, not quite. But I can see the appeal.
Sure. I mean, he got in the zip code, right? Like, mm-hmm. But he didn't actually make it to like the apartment.
Okay, got it.
Because that's the thing. Like, he also has the same sort of like shame core thing that resists self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he was like, oh, you do it. Why don't you, big brother, you can figure this out. And that's, and how nice, but I can only do so much, and then I can't make you come to realizations. Like, I can't.
No, that's very true. I mean, it's tricky enough to do it for yourself.
Right. For some people, they'll never do it.
Yeah.
That
is so true. That is so true.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is all horrible. And I was in a Facebook group for like codependence, because I was like, I'll follow this thread. Why? I got nothing else to follow. So sure. I wasn't going to go back to Southern Baptist religion. That, no way. I already knew that was not working. I had read a lot. Now, when I was in college, I read a lot of Robert Anton Wilson, mm-hmm. who I love, great author. I went through some tough stuff in college, and his nonfiction especially really helped me, because he was talking about what it's like to undergo a rapid brain change. And that could be anything from like brainwashing to grief to mm-hmm. trauma. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, some of this stuff is happening to me. So I'm not going crazy. I'm just undergoing like some rapid brain change stuff. And he kept me sane, to be honest. So I'd have that as sort of stewing in the background. And Robert Anton Wilson touches on all kinds of stuff, like conspiracies, like the Golden Dawn, the OTO, just UFOs, just everything. Huge, very broad. So I had been exposed to a lot of potential alternative paths way mm-hmm. back when. But in this case, I went to, it was Lisa Romano's private Facebook group for codependence. And I met some really great people there, one of whom is my very best friend to this day, who lives in Birmingham, England.
Nice.
And another lady who was super, super cool, lives in California, had polio and like does downhill skiing with like leg braces, like totally awesome, badass lady. And she and I were talking, and she said, look, just, brass tacks, what do you want? Like, what is it that you're looking for? And I said, I just want to feel better. Just to put it in simple terms, I just want to feel better, because I felt like hell. Mm-hmm. I was in therapy. I was on weird drugs that like slowed me down to a crawl. I felt like I was in a glass jar of molasses.
Oh my.
Just, I was desperate. Like, I just don't want to feel this anymore. I want to feel better. So she turned me on to Abraham-Hicks. And at first,
Nice.
I was like, like, what are we doing here? What is happening? Because anyone who like just watches an Esther Hicks video that doesn't know what's going on is going to think, okay, I have no idea what the hell she's talking about.
It's a little Fruit Loops.
Yeah, it's a little Fruit Loops, and it's got its own lexicon. It's got its own like phrases, and you don't,
Yeah.
like, why is she talking? Like, why does she change her voice at the end?
Yeah.
Like, now she sounds like a normal girl, but in the middle she sounded totally different. It's like, oh, she's channeling. Okay, all right. So I thought that was interesting. And I thought, well, I'm willing to accept this in whole or in part. And this whole, however she's doing it, the grid, the vortex, these sound like interesting concepts, and it's not alien to me because I've been reading Robert Anton Wilson. He talks about things that are similar. Like he would say things like, you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So go for a walk around the block and look for money, and you'll find it. And he's right, because you will, because you're paying attention. You focused your attention. And so I knew about, these things, and she seemed to be a new direction. And I think I was just like, this whole like new age is the wrong term, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this was like a completely different thing that was happening. And I was looking for more, looking for variety, variations. Maybe I'll find something a little better or more precise, or, I'm an INTP, right? Yeah. And so what we do, we have this very rich internal life, and we're always turning the evidence over in our head, like for accuracy. Like, okay, this is 80% accurate, but if I change this word, it's 81%. Okay, 82. So for me, Abraham-Hicks was like in the 75% accurate, maybe. It's like, I want something a little more to my liking, something that I understand a little better. And at the same time, I thought to myself, well, what do I want spiritually? What do I think is interesting spiritually? What's the cookie for me? I was like, well, as much as I hated to admit it, like Jesus, at least if nothing else, was someone that seemed like most people liked. And I thought, Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus was a Jew. And he seemed to be a magical Jew. So maybe I should look at some Jewish magic. What is that called? Because this was all like, I don't know, I'm winging it. Like, I guess there's a thing, what is it, Essenes? Like, what are we doing? Is Gnostic? What, where do I go? And then it was like, okay, there's this thing called Kabbalah, and you should maybe look into that. I was like, okay, that's cool. And that led me sort of at the same time to the more of the medieval Golden Dawn version of the Kabbalah, which to me was at least more approachable because I didn't speak Hebrew.
Yeah.
And they do, they tend to play it a little close to the chest. I mean, these days you can learn more about it, but I was also trying to be respectful. Like, I wasn't raised Jewish, and I don't want to just take stuff from people and just say, oh, look at me, I'm a esoteric Jew now. Like, that's not okay. Trying to show some respect and like, okay, let me see if I can find a more interesting side of the tradition that I was part of. So and I did. I really, really did. I got a lot more than I kind of bargained for. But what ended up happening was I bought a copy of Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation by Liam Thomas Christopher, on the recommendation of a YouTube ceremonial magician guy who was doing the same thing. And he seemed terribly interesting. He seemed smart, did not seem crazy, which really helped because there's a lot of
there's a lot of like really out there.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, some people, I mean, they come to this broken. They're like, they're doing that. Like most people who want to summon spirits out of the Goetia, they don't come to this hole. They come to it because they're hurting so bad that they don't mind casting a circle and raising a demon and asking it some questions, because the demon's probably better than their dad. Right? I mean, it's not, and not, again, not every ceremonial magician is that busted, but I was pretty hurting. So, I landed in this place and I thought, all right. And I did the work. Mostly it's mostly meditations and learning and reading a lot of books. I was doing that anyway. So, and it's like medieval European chakra activations basically, and calling archangels and balancing yourself, and they're also they're feeding you like very subtle messages that will get past your defenses about the different elements and what they stand for, and really it's about the different layers of self. And so you're unconsciously balancing yourself. You've got the ceremonial instruments like the dagger and the wand and the cup and the pentacle, and you put them on your altar, and those are external manifestations of things that are happening inside you. And so when you put them on the altar and they're in a balanced state, you're telling your subconscious, I am balanced on the inside. So you do these meditations, these breathing exercises. It's box breathing. Navy SEALs do it to calm down. So I'm doing tons of calming, lots of calming, balancing, calming.
Did you find these practices, like, did they seem familiar to you?
No.
Okay.
No, they really didn't. Because I didn't come. If I was Catholic, I think I would have been like, oh, whoa, this is just like the blue de blah or whatever. But I wasn't. I've watched some Coptic Egyptian church services where they do like circumambulations around the altar, and I'm like, I know that one. Like I've done that. And a lot of this, really. So the Golden Dawn stuff was just an attempt to synthesize a lot of esoteric traditions into a framework that held together. And it's interesting too, because the esoteric Judaic tradition does not much care for the old Egyptian traditions, I could tell you. And they're sort of all at war with each other in a way, competing for your attention. And so I thought it was interesting the Golden Dawn tried to synthesize what were, especially in olden times, brutal enemies like Romans, Greeks, Egyptians, and Hebrews. Right? How's that all going to hang together? Well, it kind of does, because they all had certain things that they all said in their tradition that they agreed on. And so these are some of the timeless agreed upon things. Even like the Vedics, the Hindus, the Buddhists, they would say some of these very same things. So it's eclectic, but it's also, it also hangs together. So I liked it. Still doing it. And but again, the tricksy part is when you calm down and you do this stuff and you do it in earnest, and you're meditating a lot, and you're calming yourself, and you're doing the rituals, and you feel secure, right? Maybe for the first time in your life. That's when stuff starts to come up. And it's like, okay, I'm no longer even in a mild state of panic or alarm or alert. I'm actually calm. And then
you start embodying it.
That's when things start to come up, and you're like, oh, I'm starting to see the past actually kind of more clearly now. And I wasn't always the good guy now, was I? Oh shit. That's when the actual crisis comes, is when you've calmed your body down long enough to see yourself, as we say, to wake up and see yourself.
See reality.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like some of what Vadim Zeland has to say, and it fits right in, because
it really does.
Yeah. Yeah. The outer screen is like reality impinging upon you. The inner
Yeah.
screen is that, all the weird psychological stuff,
Yeah.
the past, the worrying about the future, and the anxiety and the depression, and even the self-deluding
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
The
know?
the narrative about everything that you witness in the
Right.
outer screen, on the outer screen, rather.
Yep. And I did this ritual work for long enough to realize there was a narrative. And like, okay, I'm staring at a dot on a piece of paper, and I'm thinking about, basically the immanence of the divine in nature in all her aspects, according to, the work that you're supposed to do while you're staring at the dot. And the things that came out of that were just like, oh, I've got these weird I'm trying to just focus on the dot, but I got all these weird stories coming up. I don't want that. I just want to focus on the meditation. But no, God, that's a weird thought. Why am I so hostile? Like, why am I angry? Why why do I feel, why am I thinking about that dude from like 5 years ago that really pissed me off?
Yeah.
And this stuff just starts coming up, and it goes deeper and deeper. The more you do this, the deeper it goes, because you are soothing yourself and you're starting to explore deeper and deeper. It's like um this the tale of the great urn that's filled with water, and the wind is whipping up the surface of it, and you can't see the reflection of the moon.
Hmm.
But when the wind dies down, and the surface of the water is still as glass,
Hmm.
and then you can really see the moon. And it's the same way with us. Once we calm our water down, which in
Yeah.
this particular tradition, water represents emotion. So, once that water gets still, you can truly clearly see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is and again, this is the tricky part. No one promised that you would see good things.
This is true.
no, no one said,
Oh
oh, and
shit.
you'll have perfect peace forever. No, that's the first step. And then you like, oh my God, I'm an asshole. Like, oh no, I really was a jerk to that kid. Oh no, I was me. I was a nut in traffic. Oh, I actually, yes, it turns out I am capable of being a dick.
Yeah.
And then, so that's like, for the last, like I said, about a year, I've just been dealing with that as it comes up, and realizing, to bring this back around to the male identity. you know if when you squeeze an orange juice comes out. When you squeeze a person, what's inside them comes out. So,
Hmm.
realizing that when I was under pressure, when I was kind of triggered, that shadowy stuff that I disavowed, that I said I'm not like my dad, that's when it comes out. So when you're not acting, intentionally, when you
Hmm.
lose yourself to the past, when someone triggers you and suddenly, bam, you're 3.5 again.
Yeah.
That's when that rot that you've put away comes out. And some people never even know that that's why they do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I've
Oh.
just been, yeah, I just been dealing with the the feelings of, it's like, it's again, it's like a core wound activation, but in a more controlled way.
Hmm.
Because you do these meditations for years and years, and you are kind of at a more calm baseline than you ever were. And you can finally see, it's like you finally have the strength to actually penetrate the veils, as it were, and to see the things that you did not allow yourself to see about yourself. Because if they were like, you know dad, I wouldn't let
Hmm.
myself see it. I would not let myself see myself as my dad. I couldn't
Yeah.
even see it.
Yeah.
So I am trying to, from here, I'm realizing that the best thing I can do is to do the one thing that my father would never do, and that is to feel the shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just soak in it.
Yeah.
Don't don't write it off. Don't
Yeah.
excuse it. Don't say, oh yeah, I was a dick, but no
Yeah.
buts. No buts. Just let myself do the one thing that he is incapable of doing, and that is feel the shame.
Ugh.
And it's tough.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's really powerful. Feeling it, allowing it to be as it is without fixing it, without being fixated upon it,
Yeah.
without trying to corral it, control it, micromanage it, whatever. Just allow it to be as it
Right.
is.
Or moralize it. I mean, it's if you call a thing evil, then it's a dead cert that you're not going to identify that with yourself. You're never going to say I'm evil. So if you can just go, and this is part of the reason that I look back at my dad's past in the broadest sense that I can, trying very, very hard not to moralize it and just go, this is a kid who had his ass kicked and he froze at about, anywhere from 7 to 10 years old. He never made it past that like self-centeredness that kids have.
Yeah.
And he never, allowed himself to self-reflect and feel that shame, because probably for him, his shadow was probably, I'm never feeling this shame again.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be ashamed of myself the way my dad made me feel ashamed of myself. And so he took his shadow and he buried it. And then when he had a family, we had to carry it.
Yeah.
And that's the most damaging thing an NSP does to you.
Yeah.
Is they make you wear their shame.
Yeah.
So if you want to make sure that you break that chain, you got to wear your own shame.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It really sucks. But again, this is not this. They don't tell you this stuff in the book. They're not like, oh,
no, they don't. And a lot of the so-called shame experts are, they are just bypassing so much core work. As long as we can label shit. There is power in labeling things and naming them.
Absolutely.
But the work doesn't stop there.
No.
There's the excavation that excavating the stuff that you need to own up to and answer to, even though as a child you were innocent, and I know that for myself, as I go deeper into, my own, every time I think, I'm done excavating my wounding, so much of it was pre-verbal.
Yes.
I'm realizing that, girlfriend, you have not even touched upon the rage that has been stuffed. And so being able to be courageous enough to navigate through that mess, because it's messy.
It is messy. And you have to take it one like layer at a time.
Yep. You can't do it all.
No. And
I think, when I hear shame experts or so-called trauma experts, talking about, just clear that in like one session.
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, fucking run for the hills.
Yeah. Either that or convert to their religion, one of the two, because, I just don't see it that way. Even Dante knew this. This is why he had 9 circles of hell.
Yeah.
You had to clear the one, and then you got to go to the next one. It's kind of worse.
Yeah.
But you deal with it, and then and that's how it is. You deal with the next layer down, and I call it down, like within. But the outer layer is the physical, right? I think we can all agree. The outer layer is physical, and so you got like trauma stored in your body, as you said, pre-verbal, probably before you could really thoroughly store memories, so it got stored in your body. So you got to work some of that out. And then and this is the golden dawn work. Absolutely. You deal with the body, you deal with the physical, you get your shit straight, clean your room, to quote Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, to quote Jordan Peterson. Love it.
Never thought I'd be doing that. And then you go to the next, in the golden dawn system, the next is thoughts.
Yeah.
It's the realm of thoughts. And you have to, like, now, because you've taken care of the bodily stuff, and now you have to deal with your thoughts. And then the next level is the emotional level. It's the water element. And you have to deal with this torrent of emotions that comes from clearing the thought level, which is the air element. And then beyond that, the next layer is the fire element, the will, desire, what you really want. I really do think that's the piece when you hear scientists, they go, you don't have free will. It's really coming from somewhere within you that you don't know. I'm like, well, I kind of do, actually. Because that's the layer of the fire, the element of fire, the desire, the will. And you have to figure, I think beliefs kind of live there. Limiting beliefs. You have to correct those. You have to, because those are put in you as a kid. Like, I believe that men are dangerous. I believe that men are scary. I believe that men are hurtful. And I'm not especially happy that, I'm seen as a man, because I think my belief is that because I think this about men, people who look at me think that about me. Right. That's just I'm saying that as an example of a limiting belief. Yeah. So you got to you correct that too.
Yeah. Are you finding that doing this work that you are in many ways redefining what a man is? Like, do you find yourself like, I don't want to say collecting, but making a list of the attributes and the qualities of what, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, what a conscious man is, what he's all about.
That's a great, I have not done that specifically. But I think what I have done is I've come to understand that it's okay for me to be me, and that I still qualify as a man, and that I have impact. And that's and that's something, like, I want to touch on that, because one of the weirdest realizations was I thought I had no impact because I didn't want to have impact. Because my dad was always imposing himself on other people, right? And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I created this, like, sort of lie to myself that I was not impactful, that I don't impact people. Like, that's part of my core belief. Like, not only is it was a belief, it was also sort of an ethic. Like, not only will I not impact people, but I do not impact people. And the way that blinded me was in some strange ways. Like, I never believed anyone was ever attracted to me.
Really?
Yeah, because I was not sexually impactful. I was never a presence, right? I never had any sort of impact or presence on these people. So it was always a big surprise. Like, and it was part of why I ended up with half the girlfriends I did, because they were the ones who would throw themselves at you. Because that's what it took to get my attention. Because I was assumed, like, they don't like me. Yeah. How could they like me? And so I'd end up with the ones that, had the problems where they had to be the center of attention, and they were super bright and shiny, and they had lots of different colors in their hair, and they ended up in my lap with their shirt unbuttoned before I knew what was happening.
Right? Oh my God.
Because I was clueless. And
I get it. Wow.
Right. So these are when it was a subtractive process before. Like, I was subtracting out, like, this sucks, this characteristic sucks, this is like my dad, this sucks, getting rid of that, getting rid of this. And so I was just pulling away all these pieces, and what I was whatever I was left with. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm any more comfortable with the shadowy parts,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm realizing that there are other virtues that remained after I
Mm, okay.
pulled away the gnarliest pieces of it. I can still theoretically be attractive, but not be like an outrageous flirt,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You,
I can,
you
I
get to
can,
call the shots of how you want to show up in your world.
right. I can ask a yes or no question and be okay with no.
Yes. That's
Wow. Because
awesome.
this is how my dad asked a question, right? He says, I need you to take my truck to Gary's shop. That's not a question. He didn't
Yeah.
actually ask anything.
Yeah. It's
He
a
just said,
demand.
it's a demand. And that's what he thinks a question is. And so I'm like, well, I can throw away that insanity level of assertiveness and that arrogance, but I can still assert that I have a need and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
hey, listen, do you could you help me to get this car to the shop? Is that okay? Can a yes or no question that someone can say yes or no to,
Yeah.
right? So subtracting out that's been my process. It's been subtracting out the nasty pieces
Yeah.
and saying, look, there's an alternative. That just because I threw away the flirtiness, the outrageous, shameless flirting that my dad did, doesn't mean that I don't have a sexual presence or persona.
Yeah.
And realize that there may very well be some women who are attracted to me without the arrogance and without the crap,
Yeah.
right? So it's the pieces that remain, like like a sculpture. You knock away all the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's not David, and what remains is David.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Wow.
yeah, it's been a
That
weird trip.
that's so cool. I mean, just the whole process of this awakening, this self-awareness to become conscious of your conscience,
Ah,
and to choose to be in choice about how you want to show up as a person, let alone a man.
right. And I think that began with realizing that, like it or not, I show up anyway,
Yeah.
right? Because I look, if someone said, "What's your superpower?" Like, what superpower do you want? I'd be like, invisibility, because that's how I treated myself anyway,
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, no, if I show up to a place, I'm there. People can see me. They can
Yeah.
hear me.
Yeah.
I have a presence as much as I disavow my father's heavy-handed presence and the way
Yeah.
he grandstanded and had to have the center of attention.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to the other side of it and be invisible,
Yeah. Exactly.
and
Exactly.
so that's been the reckoning. And of course, again, um the just owning my shit,
Yeah.
owning the shit. That's and it hurts, it stings, it
Yeah.
burns.
No, I mean, and this is for me, I mean, this is the way of consciousness, whether
Yeah,
you are a man or a woman,
absolutely.
to be able to see yourself and feel yourself, hear yourself, in the totality of your human experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and
Right,
and everything in between and beyond, all that, the polarity of the shit storms, and on the other spectrum,
right.
the uh the blissful, ecstatic, epic shit that happens to us as well.
Yeah, of course. And also preserving the ability to choose.
Hmm. Yeah.
Not to sound too much like Milton Friedman, who I do like, but the freedom to choose is a big deal, and
Yeah.
and part of that is to also realize that we don't come here, you know, as pure evil or pure good. We come here as a set of potentials for most everything, and the pieces that get inflated are part of our character, and the pieces that shrink away, for whatever reason, because of our childhood or because of any number of things. But there's a point at which you realize that all those ingredients are inside you. I have an inner NSP, and unless and until you can actually realize that you have all the ingredients in you,
Yeah.
and that the most important thing you can do is make the conscious choice,
Yeah.
to not do that,
Yeah.
and to do better, then you can't. If you don't think you have a choice, don't even realize you have a choice, you're stuck. You're trapped in samsara, as they say.
Yeah.
You're in the Maya. You're doing the dance. You're swinging on the pendulum, and it's all out of your control. But once you realize that you have a fundamental choice and lots of little micro choices, but in the end, it's like I can choose to be better than this.
Yeah.
And the informing the pieces where you're reading lots of books and you're watching lots of videos and doing all this stuff is just to better fill out what those choices really mean, and who you are, and who you want to be, and who you don't want to be, on a conscious level, not an unconscious level, not the me shoving my dad under the rug.
Yeah.
Because that's all I could do. It was like, I just don't want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tell me what I want to be.
Yeah.
It just tells me what I don't want to be.
Yeah.
So being able to choose and say, well, if my dad's primary wound is shame and he cannot deal with it, what does that mean I should do? It means I have to deal with my shame. I have to just sit in it.
Yep. Be friendly with it.
Yeah. And just be like,
hi.
I own it. And yeah, people are like, oh yeah, we're just going to deal with your shame in this other way, and we're just going to bat it away like pickleball. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
just a different narcissistic defense.
Yeah, it is. It is, because it's bypassing.
Yeah. That's not mine. Hell with that. That hurts.
Yeah. Let's see if it lands somewhere else.
Yeah. And whether you stick it in your pocket or whether you throw it at somebody else, you're not, you're not metabolizing it, and you're not alchemically transforming it.
Yeah.
Because, that's the Western mystery tradition is full of metaphors of this kind. You're healing metals, you're healing base metals. You heal lead into gold. That's the vernacular is to heal it. And back in the day, the tradition was, if you were in the Western mystery tradition, you gave away medical services for free, and you referred to yourself as a doctor, because you had healed yourself and you were now going to try to help heal others. The Philosopher's Stone is called the medicine of metals, because you're healing metals. So you're healing your mercury, and you're healing your tin, and you're healing your lead, and you're healing them so that they can become gold. And that's an internal process. So you're going to start with a base metal. You're going to start with something shitty.
Yeah.
And in my case, my base ingredient is shame.
Yeah. Wow.
But you don't throw it somewhere, and you don't ignore it. You transform it. And the first thing is, you got to realize it's yours, and you got to hang on to it and be like, okay, this is where we start, is that this shame is mine.
Yeah.
And yeah. How about that?
My goodness. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, more power to you. I mean, it's powerful work, and it's
it is.
I love the I mean, the trajectory is, I mean, it's not a hyperbole here. It can seem like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I don't worship the devil.
Yeah. No, you don't. No, you don't. So we're at the hour and a half. I mean,
look at us.
Kind of like flew. It's like, holy moly. I just looked at the time. I'm like, what? Really? Wow. So, what are you up to? Tell us what you're up to.
Well, it's weird. Like,
yeah.
I'm at this place. So I was doing all this work, and I'm still on the path, if you will. But I actually, when the shame cascade really hit, I kind
Mhm.
of I won't say I stopped, but I paused. I was like, okay, I got to swallow this.
Mhm.
And so I was really having to kind of look back and figure out what really was mine to carry and what
Yeah.
wasn't. And that's tricky.
Yeah. No, it is. It's very, very tricky.
It's tricky. So I've been doing that, and also just trying to figure out, all right, well, what am I going to do with my, my regular life. I'd actually had to take care of my mom for quite a while because she was in trouble. She had an infection that was just, they were talking amputation.
Wow.
And so I was like, nope, they're not doing that. And I did, IVs and bandage changes every day, and all the shopping and all of this and
I
everything.
remember. I remember
Yeah.
you doing that.
So I did that, and on, recently that's all finally wound down. So I'm sort of left with me, and I'm like, all right, well, where do I go from here? So
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure that out. The world, the outer screen, if you will, has not
Yes.
made it super easy.
Yes.
Um, I I have my concerns about the direction of society, but I need to gather the skills that I have, even if those skills were earned, as we say, the wrong way, and see what I can do with it.
Cool.
Um, yeah, it's weird. I feel like I've been sort of dropped off at a weird kind of spiritual bus terminal. Like, okay, well, time to go to the next town.
I
Um,
hear you. I hear you with that. It's like, what train do I get on?
yeah, like, oh, neato.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I wish I could say that was like something super grand and like, oh, I'm starting a business where I transform the world. Not quite there. Um, so
Well,
so yeah,
you have a fantastic YouTube channel.
thank you.
So we'll make sure to have the link to that. I mean, just really, really cool videos, kids. Check these out.
There, yeah, and I apologize for it laying dormant because I stopped making videos right about the time that like the cascade hit me. I was like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have some serious inner stuff that I need to deal with, and I just
Yeah.
didn't. To be honest, I I won't say I felt like a fraud. It was just more like my perspective on myself was starting to really change, and I was starting to say, do I have anything to say to these people? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
am I being useful? Am I actually telling anybody anything that they really need to hear? Um, Especially in light of me looking back at myself and going, oh God,
Yeah.
I've ugh, I need to maybe I need to sit with myself for a little
Yeah.
while.
Well, and
So
everything has a season, and sometimes we need to hit pause for a time, and then you get back to it,
yeah.
and you come back, and you're better than ever.
Well, I appreciate the optimism. I do think it's a good thing. I think one of the things that keeps you spiritually healthy, honestly, is to give back.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
agree.
because the desire to receive for oneself alone, as they say, is the closest thing to evil, really, that there is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
Well, and then as you know the Tufty materials.
I do, and my God, that's
I mean, the Tufty
I
materials, it's
love
like
that
you
stuff.
want the universe to reflect to you, or you want something for yourself, you have to give to the mirror that exact thing that you want. Here, take this. You
Yeah,
have to offer that up first, and then the mirror, the universe reflects that back to you.
yeah, and and
Fabulous. So,
and in that spirit, I do want to recommend something. I know that you were a fan of like Pink Loon and
mhm.
the crystal jewelry. There's someone that has a relatively new YouTube channel, and a new Etsy shop and a presence on Instagram, and she's selling crystals. She just started out, and she's having a hard time getting over the hump. If anyone in your audience wants to, do some good work and they're interested in buying crystal jewelry, then I would recommend her stuff. Her YouTube channel is called Regress or Grow. She's very young. She's very nice. She's Canadian girl who just likes to go out in the woods and gather her firewood to brew her coffee and say nice things.
Aw.
Yeah, it's really gentle soul.
All right, make sure to give me her link.
I will. I'll say for the listeners, her YouTube channel is called Regress or Grow, and it started out as a I'm quitting smoking channel, which was really cool because at the time I was quitting smoking and managed to do so finally. And her Instagram is the singing sunbird.
The singing sunbird.
The singing sunbird. So, what in my heart of hearts, like I would love it if your audience just like bought her whole Etsy store out.
Aww.
So that like she's gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, oh my God, it's all sold out. Because what she wants to do is take the proceeds and like buy a camper and just live that life.
Aww.
Like, all right. So, I can't buy her shop out, but maybe your audience can like get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And that would be super cool.
Awesome. All right. So, we'll have her stuff in the show notes as well.
Yeah. And by the way, she has no idea I'm doing this. She didn't ask for this.
Surprise!
This is just like, hey, let's do something cool for somebody cool.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Speaking of somebody cool, thank you for having me.
Oh, you are most welcome. I mean, this has been a pleasure. You know that I just love our talks.
Yes.
And I love what you bring to the table. And I really respect you tremendously. And I really appreciate you sharing your story about, just coming face to face with the dark masculine and
that's a great way to put it.
Excavating the toxic masculinity. And actually, in the totality of your experience, you were at the mercy of the toxic masculine and the toxic feminine.
In many ways, yes.
Yeah.
Many ways.
And
and if it wasn't for turning certain corners, I would have become the dark masculine.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. We become what we wholly avoid and
yes.
and deny that we have those kernels.
Because then you don't let yourself see it. And then you're in real danger.
Yeah, exactly.
And I value our friendship and all the talks we've had, and I'm really actually honored because I know you're picky.
I am very picky.
Yeah.
That it's like it's a good thing. I mean, I've had to learn to be picky because just like with your story, I had to learn to discern. Yeah. And that I can't be open to everybody because everybody is not who they seem to be.
No.
And so we are in that sort of reality, and it's like, holy moly. So anyways, that is a whole other topic of
Isn't
conversation. It? Do you have any parting words before we sign off?
Parting words. It's I think it's good to help other people in really sort of a generic way, but everyone has to push through the mud to blossom as a flower. And so try not to take too much of someone's burden off of them, because there's a certain amount of resistance they've got to push through, and they'll be very glad they did, but don't take the whole burden off of them.
Yeah. And with that, thank you so much, Friar Pesel.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. I love you.
I love you too, bud.
And that's it for today's episode, my love bugs. So I hope you find this helpful and very enjoyable. And we will see you next time. And until then, here is to your love, truth, and beauty. Mwah!